But so that's one way that we've both tried to be very intentional about creating spaces that are very conducive to creativity, and just always having lots of art supplies, always having lots of paper, just keeping them very supplied with that. And on just a really practical level, that's something. And then having tons of books, children's books that are with good illustrations, just to feed. They're so hungry. They're constantly looking for fodder for their imagination. Well, obviously they don't say that, but you can just tell they're just very hungry to, we talk a lot about how stories and pictures are soul food. So it's just so fun to see them eat up really, a beautifully illustrated book, and then a day later see them come up with these amazing drawings or story ideas. So that's been one way that we've really tried to help fodder that, or help give them fodder for their imagination, artistic.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Feminine Glory podcast. I am one of your hosts, Lydia Emmons. I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Esther Edmonds.
Hello, everyone.
And we have a very special guest on the podcast today, so let's jump right into it.
Oh, yes. So today we have Danielle Dickison. She is the wife to Forrest Dickison and mother of 4. Rumor has it that she is very artistic and creative and has an eye for interior design. We are delighted to have her on the podcast today. So Danielle, welcome, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So Bess Hawthorne told us on an interview that you did a 4-week class with your church community on how to decorate your home, especially with littles in mind. So how did that whole class come to be?
Well, okay, so it came to be because our church ladies fellowship organization was doing a what they called a homemaking fair. So they asked a bunch of different ladies who had different skill sets to set up a table and a booth, and we had in the fairgrounds. And different people had like knitting, there was a bunch of different baking, sourdough ones, there was quilting, there was all different skills. And when Rachel asked me, okay, what would you want to do? I was like, well, interior design and thrifting are like my big passions. And so I set up a table that was just, nicely decorated, but it had a bunch of design books in the front. And then a couple of like older ladies kind of sponsored my table unofficially, and they gave me a bunch of beautiful things to just give away at my table. So there was throw pillows, lamps, all this beautiful stuff, like plants, just different fun things that when people would walk up to the table, I would just be like, and feel free to, grab something from the table. And so that was really fun to work together with some older ladies who are very generous and just kind of sponsored this table. And everyone was like, wow, I can just take something. This is so nice. So it was a really fun teamwork thing. So out of that fair, you had the option of including like a class later down the line. So I think that was in 2022 was the first one we did. And so I did a class later in the summer, and had a bunch of ladies over and had design books, and then just kind of had the whole class was called Interior Design with an Emphasis in Smart Thrifting. So how to be a smart thrifter so your house doesn't look like you're a big thrifter, but that it looks more curated and designed and streamlined and all of that. So we had a great time at the class. I think it was in like June that we did the class. And then fast forward this past year, I did another one in conjunction with, the Ladies Fellowship at our church set up different signal groups. So we had a signal group, which was really fun because then it was a little bit more interactive and long term. So people could post like, okay, here's this spot in my house, and what do you guys suggest? How should I attack, this awkward angle of, my window here? And then people could show how they were basically overcoming the challenges of their home and send pictures. And so that was really fun to do, like the signal group. And then we had another one in-person class this past summer. So that's how the whole class came to be. And Bess was a wonderful guest. I'm so glad that she enjoyed it.
That sounds like so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
Though. So do you remember any of the titles of the books off the top of your head? And if not, that's fine. But I would love to know some of those books.
I do. Well, I actually, the one of your later questions in the interview, a book that has impacted me. I was like, well, I'll go with a book that's impacted me interior design wise. But The Perfectly Imperfect Home by
Okay.
Deb Needleman. That one was on
Okay.
there. There was Bunny Williams is an interior decorator that I loved. Some Ralph Lauren, some Ross Byram Shaw, um, Heidi Kalier. Let's see what other ones. There was a Architectural Digest 100, and I these are not all my books. I got some of them. I mean, I do have quite a few design books now because I love having them out and about. But I asked several ladies in the church who I knew had a great library of interior design books if they would lend them to me. So,
Okay.
and it's fun because I got so many different styles represented. Because
That's
all the
awesome.
ladies have such different styles, but their homes are also lovely. So it was really fun to get different design books from different gals. And yeah, so and then I got some from the library too, just to kind of, throw it in.
Smart.
So yeah, so it was fun. I'm trying to think of any of the other ones, but those are just a smattering.
I
Oh, I
love
love
that.
that. That's amazing.
So neat.
That's definitely an area I want to get better at. So I'm excited to
Yeah.
look into those recommendations.
Oh, yeah. So, we have also heard and seen that you and your husband are very artistic. How do you think that has helped shape your home when it comes to design?
Well, how has it not shaped it? Would maybe even be a better question. Um, it's such a blessing and so fun, and it is, yeah. So my husband is he's an artist. He's done picture books, done fine art paintings. So I mean, one very practical way is our home is has beautiful paintings on it, and that's all him. Like just these glorious, lovely oil paintings on our walls that really elevate the design of our house, which is totally him. And so he has very strong opinions about what goes on our walls and what's in our house. And so which I love because it actually creates I also have strong opinions. So we first got married, it was kind of like I was a little bit surprised because I was like, "Wait, I'm the wife. I thought you're not supposed to care about this. Like you're the husband. I thought you're just like whatever." But he's like, "No, actually, I do." And he doesn't care he obviously cares in different ways than I do. But it's interesting because it has definitely made made my style more interesting and multi-dimensional than if it was just me. Like it's been this
Mm,
constant like, okay, how can I incorporate what he likes and what's really important to him to have on our walls and to have our home feel like, and how can I do that in a way that I also really love it. And it's been really challenging in a fun way. And I just think, wow, my style would be so like one note and kind of bland
mm.
if it hadn't been for that from the beginning. We've been married 8 years now, and if it hadn't
Congrats.
from that, we just yeah, it's really created like a multi-dimensionality that would not have been there had it just been just me.
Right?
Having him with that has been awesome.
So, when you first met him, was he already artistic?
Yes, he
Okay.
down to his bones. So, he was a kid. He was already so he works at Canon Press and then also does freelance stuff as well. So he is yeah, he's very artistic and has given our kids art lessons and but in
Aw.
also in a very he's artistic but not he's very athletic, and so he's very artistic in a very masculine way, which I really
Okay.
appreciate and I think is something that is pretty lost in our culture. But the
Hmm.
fact that like so he's always studying like old Russian masters and NC
Wow.
Wyeth and Edgar Payne, who are like mid early mid 20th century artists who were very masculine. They had like families and that they were excellent artists as well. And so it's been because I think our culture generally thinks of artisticness much more, only can imagine it kind of on like the feminine spectrum. And
Right.
and that's something that we're constantly kind of obviously that's a beautiful, wonderful thing, but just like to see the masculine artisticness is very cool to see, and also just trying to expand our children's imagination in that it's not just like, artistic things are like beautiful and feminine, and of course they are, but like there's a whole different aspect of like the masculinity in art that is very important and really fun to see and experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
So prior to being married, was like interior design and being artistic and creative that way, that something you kind of grew up loving, or once you got married, that's something that then got
Oh,
established?
I grew up loving it. I just love it. It's just I would always, when I was a kid, it was just making little beautiful spaces was was just was just my passion. So I would do when I grew up in Texas. So I grew up like in
Okay.
the South, and the tablescapes for Thanksgiving and different teas and bridal showers and all of these things, um, just went full out on those with all the tablecloths and the table runners and the extra fabric draped and all the candles and the multiple arrangements, and just I live for that. It was just so fun. So my mom would, help
So
with
great.
that. So yeah, it's definitely been a passion, and thankfully has been something that I've been able to discipline in some areas and kind of, direct here and there. But it's definitely been something I've always loved and been really passionate about.
That's amazing. I love that.
Oh yeah.
So, besides design, in what other ways have you and your husband incorporated art into your home, and how do you think that in particular has affected your kids?
Um, yeah, great question. Well, we have an art table, a little craft art table in our dining room, and the girls, well, we have three girls and then a little boy. He's 18 months today. Our oldest is 7, 5, and 3. So most days they wake up and they just go straight to that craft table. And they immediately just, yeah, start drawing. My oldest is just very into making anything. So she's always making jewelry and, just anything out of crafts. She loves crafts. But so that's one way that we've both tried to be very intentional about creating spaces that are very conducive to creativity, and just always having lots of art supplies, always having lots of paper, just keeping them very supplied with that, and on just a really practical level. That's something. And then having tons of books, children's books that are with good illustrations, just to feed. They're so hungry. They're constantly looking for fodder for their imagination. Well, obviously they don't say that, but like, you can just tell they're just very hungry to. Yeah, we talk a lot about how stories and pictures are soul food. So it's just so fun to see them eat up really, a beautifully illustrated book, and then a day later see them come up with these amazing drawings or story ideas. And so that's been one way that we've really tried to help fodder that, or help give them fodder for their imagination artistically.
What would be one of the things that you would say that would be helpful for if someone was like, okay, well, that's great that you both are artistic, so that's what you guys do, but, we're not that way, and so I don't understand why you need to foster imagination and creativity in a child. What would you say would be the argument for that, of why you do that for the future?
Well, I mean, you're always, even if you're not artistic, you're always trying to give your kids more than what you were given. Basically, stand on your parents' shoulders. So if you're like, I'm not artistic, I don't know about all this creativity stuff, but having the humility to realize that this is a gift that, to the best of my ability, I would like to pass on to my child, even if I don't feel like I'm very competent in it. I think finding people who maybe are, and helping, especially if you have a child who is more bent towards that. Like, okay, we're gonna get you what you need as far as maybe mentors or just anything like that. I just think it's you God created such a beautiful creative world, and even if, there's a lot of things that when I think of what I want to give to my children, I was given so much, but there's a lot of areas, obviously, like anyone, that I don't feel like I'm competent in or anything like that. But I would love to see them grow in competency way beyond what I've ever had. And so that would just be my encouragement, of that even if you don't feel like you are naturally that way, it is still it's a very important thing to God, and so it should be an important thing to us. And just to have the humility of, okay, I might not be good at this, but I want to give you this, and let's get you the tools that you need, would be what I would say to that.
Do you feel like in doing that as well, it does also help the parent to become better at whatever they're trying to equip their child to do?
Oh yes, 100%. I mean, that is such a part of parenting, of just learning along with your kids. And I was just telling my husband on Sunday, we were out for a hike, and he was pointing out to the girls the color composition and the harmony between the shadows and the light. It was like right at golden hour when the sun was setting, and he was just pointing this out to them, and I was like, I can barely understand what you're saying. Like I'm really trying to follow like the color theory and the shape and the value, and so I mean, that's definitely an area I want to grow in. So I was like, okay, when you sit down and give the girls like official lessons, I need to be there. Like I want to learn it too, because I feel like there's a lot of intuition, but then I would love to be able to like to be able to have it laid out, and grow in
Yeah,
that area myself.
for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
So, what are some practical ways then that you as a mom are like, you still try to make your home beautiful despite the fact that, you have little kids that will get into things. I mean, they're just figuring life out.
Right.
So,
Yeah, practical tips. I know. I was just writing some of those down because I do think that is it is tricky. And I I would say be fun. That would be like my biggest thing, because with interior design, the biggest temptation is going to be, as soon as you start to care, the biggest temptation is going to be to care too much, so that you're throwing your kids under the bus. So basically, like, because it's easy if you don't care, then it's like, well, whatever, I'll just let my kids, whatever, do anything to the furniture, whatever. But as soon as, like, no, I think this is important to care. I think God cares. I think I want to raise my kids in a home where beauty is valued and is done so on a practical level. I would just say that the biggest thing for moms is to just laugh and be fun and include your kids. And just remember that you're doing it for them, and you're doing it to create a home in which beauty is cultivated and loved. You don't want your kids to hate beauty, because they're like, well,
right.
mom was so into this, and she would never let us move the furniture around. She would never let us have fun in the living room because it had to be just so. And so just yeah, keep your eye on why it's important that you're making beauty a priority in your home, and it's for your kids. Other practical tips would be, I mean, thrift. That's why I'm so passionate about thrifting, is because you can get beautiful things that you don't have to be precious about because you didn't spend a fortune on them. And so that's a big plus in my mind to thrifting, is that you don't have to be like, well, we'll just have Walmart stuff because that's all, we can do. And actually Walmart does have some good things, but it's a matter of, let's grow together all in this and not be precious about it. I love foraging. So and my kids love foraging. I mean, kids naturally love foraging. So when we went on that hike on Sunday, we were in like this, wild area, and I got some different branches, and I got some different thistles, and I, came back with this really cool arrangement that I put in a big vase. And I can go overboard with like bringing so much outside in, and just like huge branches, and so I do have to like kind of tone it down sometimes. Your kids love doing that too. I mean, kids are always, picking flowers and bringing in cool rocks and bringing in cool nuts, and so do that with them and enjoy God's world and see God's world for the beauty that it is, and help them. Like when I do this a lot. I love taking my girls to the cutting. There's a cutting gardens here, and so I love taking them and helping them with, so they'll pick out different flowers and then put them in their basket, and then bringing them home and helping them arrange the flowers, and teaching them about composition and the rule of threes, and how you want to work with odd numbers, and you don't want to have everything be the same shape. You want some long, some skinny, some short, so just incorporating your kids in that, and um, I think is a really practical tip. I guess then the final tip would be that just recognize that certain seasons are going to call for certain things, and that's okay. Like, so for instance, I used to love, on our coffee table in our living room, I would have big branches and big flower arrangements and things, and then finally my husband was like, our kids, they need to be able to jump around and not be worried about knocking this over. So for this season, we're not going to have any like big water jug with branches on our coffee table. So now I just move them up really high, and so it's like, okay, that's
Smart.
that's a good, like, okay, I think our living room looks so much prettier with a big arrangement on the coffee table, but that's not our season right now, and that's okay. And so just recognize that, like, don't get frustrated because you're trying to live a different season. Enjoy, like, if you have small kids, enjoy this season and lean into it in a way that's gonna bless them long term.
I think that's so important because I think that is a lot of people don't necessarily, for whatever reason or another, focus on like what would be a blessing to the children, and so I really like that because I think that's a very important aspect that we need to recover.
Yes,
So.
yeah, they should enjoy it. I will say
Absolutely.
another thing about them enjoying it. I think a lot of people, so there's so obviously ditches on both sides, but when your job is to shape your kids' imagination, your job is to help them see what is good, true, and beautiful. So what kids naturally like is often quite tacky, and that's just because they're little, and they haven't been trained in what is um, what is beautiful. And so I would say, um, it is your job to do that. So make it fun, bring them along, but don't just have your house look like it was you know chosen by the 3-year-old. It's a matter of bringing them up, and also making it a home that they love and enjoy, and kind of together, those two things. You don't want to get the cart in front of the horse, type
Right.
type of deal.
So would you say that there's signs that you could pick up on in children if you are cultivating beauty in them? Like you're doing a good job of cultivating. What do you see in them that tells you you're doing a good job in that?
Initiative to make their own rooms beautiful. And
Okay.
I love seeing that whenever my girls, come in, and they have flowers, and they're just like searching through for the right vase, and then watching as when they each have their own shelf. We have the 3 girls are in one bedroom, so they have a triple bunk bed.
Okay.
And so, there's not a whole lot of space that's just theirs, but they all have their own shelf right next to their bed. And I love seeing them arrange it thoughtfully. And so I think that's a really fun, encouraging thing. And then if you have a child who you don't necessarily see any of that, just kind of praising and encouraging, like, oh, I noticed, if you ever see them, care and take care to arrange it well, or to also make it tidy. These things go all together, tidiness and love and loveliness. Just really praise them when you see any little bit of that, because obviously you want to water what you want to see grow.
That's really good.
So, what are some questions that women should ask themselves when they're thinking through how to decorate their own homes?
Well, I would say questions to ask are, who are you doing it for? That's the most important question. And for women, generally speaking, the temptation is going to be to do it for Instagram, to do it for your friends who, it's like, oh, I think this would look cool and this would impress them. But it's like, you want to ask, I want to create a home that is a blessing for the people God has actually given me, and that is going to be not a burden on them because I'm trying to impose what I think would look really good on a social media post. But so that's, I think, an important question. I think this is definitely something I'm currently being challenged in because I've never had a boy, so I've had three girls, and it's been so fun. But our house definitely, when you walked in, my sister has three boys, and so she's like, okay, your house is definitely a girl house, like this is not a boy house. So I'm now trying to, like, okay, I now have, he's walking now, my Noah, my 18-month-old, and it's like, okay, now it's time to
Oh.
level up, and like, how can I make this a house that he loves and he enjoys? He doesn't feel like, I'm in this like breakable house that, if I throw a ball, things are going to come crashing. And so I feel like now this is always, and seasons are always changing. So you have to keep asking yourself, is our home still serving the people that are here right now? Not the season that I want to be in, not whatever. It's like, is this serving the people? And so I'm currently trying to get his bedroom to a place where he loves it. And it's not like, oh boy, this is very, nice try, mom, but maybe add a little more Nike into the to the design scheme here.
It's funny, we were talking about this, and what you were saying reminded me that there is such a fine balance to so many things in life, because it's like you veer a little this way and you're in this ditch, and then
Yep.
Yeah.
you can get back to the middle or veer off into the other ditch. And so it really is, there's such a fine balance to all of this that requires a lot of prayers to the Lord to like keep me on the straight and narrow path.
Oh, I know. Well, wisdom. I mean, I feel like that's why women, we need so much wisdom, because that is the finesse of like not falling into those ditches. And it's not a matter of, it's getting that wisdom, because so much of what a woman's job is in fleshing theology with practical things is just the need for so much wisdom to stay between those ditches in all different areas that we're called to be faithful in. But yeah,
Yes.
just
Have you always had this theology of decor, or has it been cultivated over the years?
it's definitely been cultivated over the years. It's been something my husband and I, we talk about it a lot, just because it is his work too, just imagination and art and all of that. So it is something that we talk about a lot, and I think and I, read a bunch of stuff about it. And so I feel like there's a lot that I've gleaned from so many different sources, and it's helped me to, well, it's been fun to see, oh, this is actually important, which is validating, but also helps to challenge me, because of course I'm tempted to decorate my house for myself and just do it for me and not for the people who God's given me. And so kind of, it's definitely been something that I've had to grow in, and discipline myself to make sure that I'm not doing it for the wrong reasons.
So what are some ways that you would be encouraging single women? Like, how would you be encouraging them to prepare for that task of one day basically translating what is the needs of their people, and then what their husbands would like to see in their home?
Yeah. I think a big thing would be to soak yourself in good design. So get good old books. And I am actually not a big fan of Pinterest anymore for this, because it's so much with the whole algorithms. It's just, it feeds you what you want to see, or what it thinks you want to see. So it's definitely, I would say, go to the library, get good interior design books, magazines, just kind of, because that is, and kind of going back to the thrifting idea, the biggest piece in being a smart thrifter is to be able to detect what would work well in your space design wise, in the midst of so much junk, but also beautiful things, but that would maybe be clutter and, just all of this stuff. So, like when you're single and you have the time, soak yourself in good design, understand just basic interior design principles, like space and line and color and symmetry and all these different things, so that when it's like go time and you have, little kids and you're nursing a baby, just all of this, you're not starting from square one then, but you already have like a library, and like you've been like soaking your artistic brain in good design. So then when you are, out and about at Goodwill or whatever, um, or ordering, a chair, whatever, you have the design to pull from. So making even I like love magazines for cutting out things. The magazine that I love the most for this is the Home and Garden UK. So it's
Yes.
like it's and I think in the last couple of years it's gotten a little bit more like advertisement, but my husband gave me a subscription like 4 years ago, and it just beautiful, amazing, lovely design. And I cut out a bunch of things and pasted them in like in a notebook, and just kind of also getting exposure to different styles too, so that you can know what fits. I have a dear friend who her husband is very he loves modern design, and she is done such a beautiful job in fleshing that. She's clearly made a home that he loves. And her style, she said, it's so funny. If you had gone to my house, that we lived in 10 years ago, it was an old fixer-upper, and it had a bunch of antiques, and it was a totally different vibe than this. And my husband didn't love it. He just didn't love it. And so now he's a builder, so they've built this house, and it's been really inspiring to see how and it's beautiful and it's cozy and it totally looks like a house that she would have. But it's just really, I love to see that she's using her creative energy in what I gather is it's stretched her to kind of go over to this side and be like, how can my husband loves modern architecture, modern design. How can I like still make this a cozy place that he loves and our kids love, and I also, am inspired to be in. So that's what I would say to single gals, is just soak yourself in good design, understand principles, so that when it is go time and you have a home that, your little first apartment, you're ready to go with the ideas, and you're ready to take the small budget that you have and make it go the farthest.
So you've mentioned thrifting. So when you go to a thrift store, are you usually looking for something that you can just, take from the thrift store and just put it in your house and it's ready to go? Or do you like something that you have to kind of work on?
Well, both. But I feel like when I had like just two little kids, I loved the challenge of finding something that needed to be sanded down and repainted and repurposed. And I still love that, but now it's not as much. I'm not able to do as much as I could then, as far as like
Gotcha.
taking on. Well, and I've also tried to be pretty ruthless with myself, as far as if I bring in a project, I need to finish that project before bringing in another project, because I don't want it's not going to bless. We don't have a lot of storage in our home. So it's not like I can put a bunch of things in the attic, or we don't have a garage, we don't have a basement. So um pretty much if I bring it in our house, we're going to be looking at it every day. So I need to make sure
Okay.
that if I bring in a project piece, I need to do that project before I bring in another project piece.
That requires some serious self-control.
It really, really
This one for
does.
me.
Yes. Oh, I know. It really does. And I'm sure if I had the space, like if I had a garage or something, then I could maybe be a little bit more lax. But I am kind of glad for the strictness of it, because it has helped me. And that's so much of thrifting is saying no just as much as saying yes, and like really exercising. Like that's one thing I said in my class. One of the last things is, remember that if you go thrifting and you come home with nothing, that is still a successful trip because you've gotten your brain, you've gotten your creative juices flowing. You've thought of maybe like a different storage solution for that thing because you saw this cool piece and like you don't have to bring anything home in order for it to be like a successful thrift trip because um, Coco Chanel said, "Elegance is refusal," and I think that's such a great like just making sure that you're being very intentional and not just bringing anything in is important, especially for people who naturally love thrifting like I do and love beautiful things that it can get a little bit like you feel like a magpie just like going around like gathering beautiful things and it's like wait a second, the sum of the sum of all these parts is not what I was going for. So you have to be really,
Yeah.
careful about how you put things together.
Yes,
Yes.
for sure. So, how important do you think it is to incorporate color into the home's design?
Well, I think I mean, if we look at the world around us, I think it's really important to God. So I think that it should be important to us. He made an incredibly colorful world that is just I think pattern too. A lot of people are afraid of pattern, but I look out at, we are at like the height of fall right now. We've had this gorgeous fall that's lasted longer than it usually does. And I'm just the harmony of the colors and just the different textures and the patterns. I'm just like amazed walking down the street at how extravagant God is and how he's so not afraid to play with colors and textures and things that I think a lot of us would feel really nervous about if we were to kind of try to recreate that color scheme in our homes, which, makes sense because obviously a forest is a much bigger, grander scale than like a small bedroom. But I just think, especially in our day and age of like encouraging women to like, pare down and like be very be careful of like your mental health and just like all these like you really need to do what is good for you and like I think that's where the whole like neutrals minimalism thing is really coming from. And so I think I mean I understand the neutral minimalist thing in some ways, but I think it's really important to push ourselves in the other direction in the day and age that we live in, and realize that um, I think we need to push ourselves to be using color. Like, okay, I don't know, this feels like really bold, but I'm just gonna go for it because I think that it's really important. Yeah, because color is just it's God loves it, and I think we need to lean into it, and especially like for our kids, and just making sure that they are growing up in a home that is colorful and alive, and that is not like I don't know, doesn't feel like Zen spa necessarily. I don't think that's what our homes are necessary. They should be comforting and a place that you want to be, but I think it should be a place that challenges you too, challenges you creatively. And oh yeah, the other thing I was going to mention about this is Christmas is the time that this really um, I really have to preach to myself this message because it's so easy to just be like, I am so overstimulated by all the color and all the noise and the baking. And it's like, okay, we need to lean into this because this is good for all of us. And we need to like, not be afraid of like, of the excess in a good way, not in like a materialistic way, but just in the like the way that God made the world so beautiful and so bright and so just leaning into that. That's I have to give myself this pep talk usually about like December 20th is like when I'm like, can we just have just everything out and just have everything white, everything white. I just don't want to like I just need to like my senses need calm down. So but I think it's a way to challenge ourselves, especially when you're a mom and you have a bunch of kids. It's easy to be like, I need everyone to be quiet and I need the walls to be quiet and I need everything to like just like be not stimulating. It's like actually you just need to you need to pray and ask God for grace in all the stimulation. It's not
Mm,
not to take away the stimulation. It's actually really important that you can be joyful and graceful in the midst of all of the stimulation. So I think color is really important.
yeah. So,
Very much agree.
kind of this ties into kind of what you're talking about just now. How does having a decorated home influence the atmosphere of it?
Um, yeah, I think well, it definitely influences it. I love going into people's homes. I think it's so fun. Whenever I go into someone's home that cares about their home, it is so fun for me to see the way that they've chosen to do things. It tells you so much about a person, and and then if someone doesn't care about their home and you go into it and it is like it is sad because it's like, okay, this is clearly, it's so clear that you don't care about it, and because of that I don't want to be here either. It's like you don't want to be here,
Right.
I don't want to be here. And so, but it's I love going to all, different ladies' homes and just seeing the vast array of personalities and styles and the way that they've chosen to um, interpret their home and their family. And it's I think the way someone decorates hugely impacts the atmosphere of it. And I think making sure that if you're trying to think of, okay, how can I positively impact the atmosphere of my home, making sure to think about the five senses is really important. So it's like, okay, obviously visually, what you see, but you want to like make sure that you're adding a lot of textures in. So I love this time of year pulling out. I put up different carpets during the summer because it's just easier to sweep. And so, but I love pulling out the different like area rugs, and I have like the sheepskin that I put over our bed, and just getting out the like cozier, plushier blankets and throw pillows. And because visually, when you walk into a room, when it's fall, and you walk into a room and it has a lot of like those cozy textures, it your mind reads it as like a feel thing. And so you get sight and you get touch, and then of course your home smelling good is important. That's on an interior design podcast that I listen to. They talk a lot about just making sure you don't overlook that, because you want your home to smell intentional when people walk in. And sound, like crackling candles or music. So I think that's just always like thinking about the different senses if you really want to create a certain atmosphere that people walk in. And then of course the most important thing is joy and love. And so if people walk into your home and there's joy and love between the people, then it's going to be an atmosphere they're going to want to be in. If it smells like Christ, then it's going to be, but then of course that, and then in fleshing that with all the physical things, it just makes for this incredibly um, pleasant and memorable experience for someone when they walk into your home.
Yes,
Yes.
for sure.
Would you say that like it's important, like even if you're just doing the dishes or something, to create your space as well, a place that is welcoming and enjoyable?
Oh,
Like even if it's just for you?
yes, absolutely. I think because because this is the work that we're called to do, we we need to enjoy it, and we're creatures. So we can't be like, well, I'm just going to enjoy this. I'm going to enjoy doing these dishes. It's like, no, like God created us as creatures. So drink a big glass of water, light a candle, have lovely music playing, and often that's going to be in the midst of maybe a toddler like fussing at your feet, or so it's not like about creating these perfect moments, but it's about just, yeah, it's definitely about, I'm going to enjoy this work that God has given us, and I'm going to show my kids how to enjoy the work. I don't want them to be like, we're just got to always muscle through it. It's like and sometimes you do, but there is an element of, God is a good father who gives us so many good gifts. Let's delight in those gifts while doing what's the work that's been put in front of us.
Yes.
Amen.
I often have a candle lit on my windowsill and lots of music going all the time. And yeah, it just helps to propel us through the day.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. There's rarely a moment in our house that music is not on. It's almost always like constantly on. If it is, it's like we're all going to bed and or there's nobody home.
That's right. Yeah, it definitely helps to create a mood for sure.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to transition. Actually, some of these have been answered already. That is totally fine. So we're going to do the rapid fire design questions,
Excited for these.
and then we'll get into the personal
Okay,
questions.
great.
All right, so I'll give it the first one. Antique or modern?
Okay, I would say antique. Because,
Okay.
yeah, but I would give the caveat that you have to have both. You really have to have a mix of old and new. That's one of the main things that we talked about in that class that I did is if it's kind of, this is not a Christian concept, but like the yin and the yang of like the balance of, as soon as I'm constantly, when I bring a piece in our home, like an old dark wood piece, I'm like, oh boy, okay, we just went this way. I gotta bring in something light and fresh, maybe something crystal or something to like offset the old dark. And so I would say antique, but I would say they have to be like they have to be balanced.
Yeah,
Agreed.
that's a good rule of thumb for that. Okay, wallpaper or paint?
Wallpaper. I love wallpaper. But
Okay.
wallpaper is very expensive. So, we only have a little bit of wallpaper in our house. So, but I think wallpaper is very fun. So I would say wallpaper. Sorry, I know these are rapid fire and I'm giving long.
No,
No,
you're
no,
good.
no,
I
no, we
like
appreciate
the
it.
reasons behind it.
Yeah, I'm actually learning as we're going through this, so
Yeah.
I love it. Fake or real greenery?
Real, real all the way. But
Yep.
I will say, um, I am, my house plants, they go through a lot because they serve my interior design needs. So I'll put my house plants in a place where sometimes they don't get enough light, and I'm like, I am really sorry. I'm not like a plant lady in that way. Like
Okay.
the plants serve the home. I don't serve the plants. So, I love fresh green, especially at Christmas time. I love going and getting cedar branches and doing, different things. But I do have like two fake plants in a couple of bathrooms that have zero windows. Also I love dried things for that too. So I'll get like dried, I have a bunch
Yep.
of dried lavender. So I have a bunch of that. So that's kind of like a happy medium to me, between fake and real.
So we got into candles a bit. So candles, yay or nay? And then I think it's a yay. So if so, which sense?
It is yay, although my husband does not like pumpkin spice. And so I brought a pumpkin spice
Okay.
home. He's quite opinionated about candles. So in the South, because where are you guys in Georgia?
Georgia.
Okay, Georgia. Okay, so you're in the South too. So we do a lot of, I mean, I grew up doing a lot of candles. We were like all, Yankee Candle Company, just like there was a lot of candles going, a lot of scents. And he doesn't love that. So
Okay.
of super strong scented candles all over the house. But I have discovered he loves sandalwood candles. So,
Okay.
a lovely lady gifted us a really nice, expensive sandalwood a candle, and he's really loved that. So I would say check out sandalwood scent,
Awesome.
especially if you have someone in your family who doesn't love a lot of different scents.
Smart.
But also
So,
candles, I would say daylight savings just hit. Light tons of taper candles.
yes.
Every single night from November to March, we have candles lit on our table. Because,
I love that.
and I leave them, I keep them lit until bedtime because just having that glow, they're non-scented. So that is, that's helpful to not make the smell too strong. But I just, and I always get them at estate sales. So, because obviously we go through a lot
Okay.
of taper candles and they can get expensive. So anytime you're at an estate sale, that's a great place to just grab. Usually the estate sales that I go to, it's kind of like name your own price. And so I've gotten a whole bucket of taper candles for like $5 before. And so just
Wow.
garage sales, it just anywhere you see them for cheap, grab them because you should have them lit all the time when it's this dark. It gets dark at like 4 o'clock here. Whenever it's
Wow.
like, yeah, December time frame, it's like 4 o'clock and it's dark. So lots of candles
Yikes.
is important, I think.
I
Yes.
love candles so much. So, lamps or overhead lighting?
Lamps. I never turn on the overhead ever. Except for I do in the kitchen when it's like time to like really, really clean, but clean the floors. But yeah, my dad is very big into the overhead light. When he comes and visits, he's always turning that on. I was like, wow, I forgot we even had an overhead light. So yeah, it's
That's
different
hilarious.
like and as many different like light sources as you can have. I think in our living room we have 8, 9 candles or lamps, like little ones, and
Wow.
tuck them into shelves and just yeah, just lamps all the way.
Nice. Carpet or wood floors?
Wood floors. We have like the faux wood floor. I forget what it's called, but but I it's funny because I think when you walk into a room, we would love to have wood, but our home, it doesn't quite make sense to really put in hardwood floors in the home that we're in. But when you walk into a room and you step on what you're stepping on impacts so much the way you feel about a room. So when you step on like fake veneer wood, your subconsciously your experience is just is very different than if you step on like a true, like actual wood or tile or terracotta. Just like so. It actually, I'm such a fan of real materials rather than fake engineered ones. But I'm very grateful for these floors, and they are great for our season, and they look nice, like they're a nice color. But it is funny how they feel different. And my husband talks a lot about how the world is like humming with color, and so it's like the way that God made like the atoms in different materials, they hum differently. And so I think that's so true when you're touching real materials. It like has just a very different, it just hums differently than fake material. So I guess I don't know, like vibe is like a weird way of saying it, but like it is just like how God like ordered the world, and just like the atoms, and just they're all humming, and they affect you differently. And so it's just, I don't know, I just think it's real is always better. But we do have
It's so
carpet.
interesting. I've never thought about that before, but I guess it would make sense going back to like what you were saying about the senses.
Yeah.
And you see something and you get a sensation about yourself when you think about it. And so that's really interesting.
Yeah,
It's
like
a very interesting thought.
the way, yeah, linen versus fur is gonna read on your mind so differently, even before you touch it. But obviously, once you touch it, hugely. But yeah,
It's so interesting. So, okay, open or closed concept?
I prefer closed. I think it's far
Okay.
more architecturally interesting. When I was a little kid, I wanted to be an architect, so I would draw floor plans on like the back of the church bulletin. Like that's what I would always draw. And I was always a fan of like the old Georgian homes in England. Like the Pride and Prejudice homes, like just like the
Yes.
different rooms to go to. I just feel like if it's one big room, it's just like one note instead of um like a larger room here and a smaller room there, but I do recognize that said, open concept is very, I think it needs to be kind of a blend of both, because open concept is great for having a big baby shower or being able to host Thanksgiving. Ideally, I
Yeah.
think I in an ideal world you'd have like very human proportions, and like library, smaller living room, dining room, kitchen, and then you'd have a great room. And that would be your
Yeah.
room for
Yes.
like hosting the big baby shower or the big Thanksgiving and the ball, whatever. I think that would be like
Yeah.
an ideal situation, but obviously
Yes.
most people don't have
Yes.
that. So I think somewhere in between, but from a design standpoint, I definitely prefer like distinct rooms.
Agreed.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to take a shift now into the fun personal questions.
Mm.
What is one trend that you just cannot get behind and why? So it could be music trend, design
Yeah,
trend, fashion trend,
yeah.
anything like that.
Accent walls. I'm not a fan of
Okay.
accent walls.
Okay.
I think that it looks a little bit like half, it just looks half done, like you kind of ran out of paint or just I don't know. So I think that that is one thing that I it's not like a huge trend right now. I think it was probably more of a trend like 10 years ago, but it's just one of those that it's like, okay, if you're gonna do a space, just do it all the way, kind of commit fully. So that's in theory, I won't say I would never do it. But in theory, it's not a trend that I'm super jazzed about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, if you could have tea or coffee with any woman from history, who would it be and why?
This one was a tough one. I think my answer would be Lilias Trotter, who was an artist missionary in the 1800s. She was a very talented artist who worked under John Ruskin, who was like the art critic of the 1800s. So the Oxford School of Art is called the John Ruskin School of Art. So he was like a
Okay.
towering figure in the art world in the 1800s. Anyways, he kind of took Lilius under his wing and said, "You could be the greatest living artist of our day if you like really throw yourself into this." But she decided to go be a missionary to Algeria instead, and he was devastated about this. But she continued drawing and painting and writing all through her long life as a missionary, and these beautiful, beautiful paintings and drawings of her time in Algeria. And she was just this wonderful, faithful Christian woman who was very artistic and just gave her life to the people of Algeria. And I would love to have coffee with her or tea. We actually named our oldest daughter after her. So our oldest daughter is Lillian
Aw.
Rosemary
Aw.
Dixon. So that's who I would want to have tea or coffee with, Lilias Trotter.
That
I love that.
I've never heard. Is that like a biography you read?
Yes, there is a biography. There's like a documentary called like Many
Okay.
Beautiful Things or something like that. If you look her
Okay.
up, we have like some sketchbooks of hers, like some like facsimile sketchbooks, and then there is a there's a documentary and a biography. She's not very well known, but she should be. She has like Amy Carmichael kind of vibes, like
Okay.
Okay.
very artistic and yeah. So just really a lovely lady that I would love to have had coffee with.
I'm gonna have to go research that. That
Yeah.
sounds very interesting and fun to learn about.
You should look her up. She's great.
If your life had a soundtrack, what would be one song on it?
Well, I love the song Harvest Moon by Neil Young. I don't know, it just resonates with me. I just love that song. I just feel like we listen to a lot of blues and a lot of
Okay.
folk. I think because we have such a girly household, we listen to a lot of Johnny Cash. We just like, my husband's like, okay, we need to make sure we like keep them well rounded and that it's, we put salt into their bones and not just, sugar sweet stuff. So we've been listening to a lot of Creedence Clearwater recently. But then, I mean, the, the Secret Life of Daydreams by Pride and Prejudice,
Yes.
Pride and
Yes.
Prejudice soundtrack, Dario Marianelli, that I've probably listened to over the last decade. I mean, I don't really listen to it a whole lot now, but I listen to that so much. And I still think of that as like, I mean, that's just, so maybe, I don't know, Neil Young and then that Pride and Prejudice song are probably two
Nice.
that I just, the lovely, lovely song.
Oh yes, I
That
love
is a
that
great
one.
soundtrack.
Yeah.
So, what is something that has stood out to you recently that has captured the essence of feminine glory?
Um, well, some of the other ladies who did the homemaking fair and then like the other group that we had this past year, um, they they were gardeners and flower arrangers. I just think one thing that I was thinking about recently is how I have a lot of really talented gardener friends in my life, and they are so generous. I just think that gardeners are some of the most generous people ever, with their time, with their seeds, with their expertise. And I just think that they understand firsthand how when you put a seed in the ground, it bears a great harvest. And so I think that's why they're so generous. I mean, also, I think probably they're just naturally generous people, but I just think that they know that like giving and generosity and putting those seeds in the ground of generosity are incredibly powerful and will reap a great harvest. And so I had a friend, Mackenzie Miller, who came over and she just gave me like an hour of her time. And she's an incredible teacher at Logos. And she just gave me her time to come over and give me all. I was like, okay, what do I do about this rose bush? What do I do about this situation? And she was just she's been so generous with her time and resources. And then also Amy Prince, who I think you guys had on your episode. Yeah,
Yes.
she did a 4-week flower arranging class. And it was in her backyard, and there was just one moment. She's another one who's just so, so generous with her time and her skills. And I was so struck. It was like this perfect idyllic moment where the sun was setting behind her, and we were in this like backyard that was very lovely, but like very like she was like really using it for what God had given her to do. And she had this big picnic table that was very weathered, and she had all these big things of flowers all over, and she was just arranging and laughing and telling telling us, and I was like, wow, this is so glorious. And just the whole combination of her talent and the beauty of the flowers and her generosity, I was just so blown away by the feminine glory of it all.
That is so sweet. What a neat testimony to
Oh,
have.
yeah.
Yeah, it was, just so many lovely ladies here that are just, I'm just amazed. So much, I'm surrounded by so much feminine glory. It's like unbelievable.
That is so sweet.
Oh, yes.
Well, Danielle, we do want to be mindful of your time, so we will go ahead and wrap it up. But thank you so much for coming on. Just
Absolutely.
such encouraging and helpful words of wisdom. I'm excited to go learn more about interior design and
Oh,
look
yeah,
into
me
some of
too.
those resources. So
Go
thank
grab
you
some of
so
those
much.
books.
Yes. Oh, you're so welcome. Well, way to go, guys. This is so great that you're doing this. I think it's
Thank you.
great, just a great ministry and experience and all of that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for taking time to visit with us today. This was truly
Yes.
amazing.
Truly a blessing.
Yes.
Glad. Well, great to meet you guys, and blessings
You
to all
as
the
well.
other interviews you guys do.
Thank
you so much.
Yes.
And thank you all for tuning in to this episode of the Feminine Glory Podcast. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Well, everyone, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Feminine Glory Podcast. This is the part of the podcast where we're supposed to tell you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel or just subscribe to Apple Podcasts, but particularly YouTube. So there you go. You can smash those buttons and
Or you don't have to. If you find us boring, if you don't like us,
Leave
you
it
can
alone.
just not do that and not visit this podcast again. It's up to you. Would you rather
so
to listen or not to listen, to subscribe or not to subscribe?
that's the question.
Yep. So you can pick. We'll leave it
Yes.
open.
Yes.
You can subscribe. We like YouTube
Yeah.
because it hosts our podcast. So
And YouTube would like us to ask you to do this. So
there you go. We asked. So you can do that. Do that what you will.
we'll see you on the next one.
Oh yeah.
Maybe.
Who knows? All right. Bye.
Bye.
guys.